Here we are, the Transformers 6 video I said I would be doing. We're finally doing it. In this video, or in this series rather, I'm going to be going full in depth into everything we know about what Transformers 6 could have been like before it was cancelled. We're going to be going over what we know about the story, and we're going to try and keep the theorizing to a minimum and go off as many of the facts as possible. This will be split up into probably at least 3 videos. Part 1 of this video, which is this one, I'm going to be focusing on Quintessa and her origins. And I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to go straight into this, because this is for the Transformers fans, especially the movie fans like myself. This is going to be our conclusion, and I want to give as many of you as much answers as possible with the information that I've got. So I've been doing a lot of research, and we're finally going to put it all together and see what we come up with. So with that all said, we're going to jump right into it. So, Quintessa. Quintessa was introduced in Transformers The Last Knight as this mysterious alien when Optimus Prime lands on Cybertron. He enters the ignition chamber and she introduces herself as the Prime of Life. And then Optimus Prime says, "You are my creator." This goes back to what Age of Extinction set up, where we see in the beginning these alien race bombing Earth with the seeds and cyberforming all the life to create the Transformium to build Transformers. Now, what we don't really know is if these are the creators or if these are aliens sent by the creators. It's not fully clear, but Age of Extinction implied that those were the creators, because Optimus Prime says the line, "Our creators destroyed your world to make us." So that's just a bit of backstory. Age of Extinction set up the story with Optimus going into space to find the creators. And he ends up meeting Quintessa, and that's where it all kicks off. So a lot about Quintessa is very mysterious, but believe it or not, we actually do know a fair bit about her. So as I said, she calls herself the creator. Interestingly enough, she calls herself the Prime of Life. We don't really know what to make of this line. I'm going to come back to this point in a while. What we do know is that she is a sorceress. This was said multiple times by the people involved with the movie, and this was said on her toy with Infernicus, I believe. And we can tell from her powers and the fact that the Knights tell Optimus, "Quintessa put you under a spell." So she is a sorceress. Her powers are magic of some sort. Megatron calls her the most ruthless of our gods. This is interesting because this line was removed from the home release version of the movie and replaced with Megatron saying, "I'm strong, you're weak." Calling her the most ruthless of our gods implies she is viewed as a deity among the Transformers, and it implies that she is held to a high regard above them all. Interestingly enough though, Megatron is not the only one to refer to her as a god. The Book of Cyber Kells, that book that Sir Edmund Burton goes looking for, there's a prophecy in it, and the prophecy says, "Earth is Unicron. One day his horns will rise to fight the mad goddess Quintessa. She will end our planet to resurrect her own." So this prophecy also refers to her as the mad goddess. So right away we can tell she definitely has some deity-like qualities to her. This would go in line with her calling herself a Prime, because the Primes in general Transformers lore are the 13 entities created by Primus to defeat Unicron, and they were godlike beings who were sort of like the forefathers for the Transformer race. Now, the problem with her being one of them is that we saw the Primes in Revenge of the Fallen. There were 7 of them. However, if you take a look at this image from the Transformers writers' room, we can see that they were trying to incorporate the concept of the Primes in some regard. We can see here mention of Alpha Trion and Onyx Prime. I'll get more onto them later on. So we can see that they were trying to reincorporate the 13 Primes in some fashion into this, whether directly or through some different method, hard to tell, but they were looking at bringing in the Primes somehow properly to deal with Unicron. Going off about the Primes, look at this concept art by Ken Christensen for Quintessa's figure for Infernicus. He uses the hashtag Quintus Prime in it, and people believed when we saw the movie that Quintessa was Quintess Prime because of the similarity in the name and even the appearance. They look bang on, nearly the exact same with a few differences. So it's possible she is Quintess Prime or Quintessa Prime, or she's definitely in that because Quintess Prime is the prime of life. He created the Quintessons, who were the creators of the Transformers. Is this the case in the movies? It's possible, because take a look at this concept art of the Quintessons from the last night. You might remember I talked about this before. I was the first person to find this image. So we can see the Quintessons were originally conceived or planned for this movie, and we've seen in interviews before that Lorenzo de Bonaventura was considering the Quintessons for Transformers The Last Night. So I was trying to figure out before like whether they were the creators or Quintessa was the creator, but it might have been a case that if Quintessa is Quintess Prime, she created the Quintessons, and then the Quintessons send out those other aliens to build the Transformers or to collect the Transformium so they themselves could build it. It's very possible that that was what was going on, but since the Quintessons weren't in the final version of the movie, it's very hard to say that, and I'm not sure if I actually want to include the Quintessons or theorize more on them further because of that. So for now I'm going to try and stick more to the facts as much as possible, but that is something that popped into my mind. Going off that though, she does call herself the creator of the Transformers, which goes to boost her ego in a way. The Knights call her the Great Deceiver, which is something that threw a lot of us off, because if she's the Great Deceiver, that means she lied about about being the creator. She lied about creating Optimus and all these other things. So what is she really? Is she even a Prime, or is that just some more bullshit she was making up? It's very hard to say, because the Prime of Life line seems very throwaway and doesn't carry a lot of weight to it, unless there was some content there that she was supposed to explain but got deleted from the movie, which is highly possible, and I believe that actually. They call her the Great Deceiver. What this could mean is she's trying to boost her ego in a way. Either she created the Transformers, or those alien race that we saw in Age of Extinction built them, but she wants to take the credit for herself. She wants to be viewed as a deity, as this figure that's more powerful than Transformers and has absolute control over Cybertron and all its inhabitants. And the interesting thing about this though is that the prophecy calls her the Mad Goddess, so if that's the case, then that would mean she would have to be some sort of literal goddess in that sense. The other issue is that if Quintessa is the creator, then she's an alien. Where does she come from? Where she comes from is something that was like the first question that ever came into my mind when I saw this character, and I really don't know, because the movie contradicts itself when it comes to her origins. When she meets Optimus Prime, she says, "Your world is dying," and then she says the line, "You destroyed your world." Later on, when speaking to Megatron at the end, she says, "Watch as our world heals and theirs dies." And the prophecy mentions she will end our planet to resurrect her own. So I can't tell if this is a case of she is from Cybertron, or Cybertron is her own in the sense that she created it and she owns the planet. If she's a Prime, she would have been sort of born of Cybertron, but maybe it is her world or not. I don't really know. And also, if Cybertron is her home, how was she never discovered during the war? Was she always on Cybertron? And how did she survive the planet imploding at the end of Dark of the Moon? I presumed when I originally saw the movie she only came to Cybertron after that, but we don't have a lot to go on in terms of that, so that's very up in the air. The interesting thing as well is her being a human. This is a very tricky thing to pick apart. Quintessa being a human. I want to show you this quote from Lorenzo de Bonaventura. You've probably seen him. He talks about the creators of the Transformers, and he mentions how Quintessa was a human and that humans built the Transformers. Now, the problem with this is that Quintessa is an alien, and we see her become a human at the end of the movie. So if she was a human first that was like taken away by the creators and then changed into an alien, why would she want to claim creator status of the Transformers? And why is she getting revenge on Unicron when Unicron is her home planet originally? So I'm not sure I actually believe that necessarily. There is one way this could work, but again, I'm not sure if I believe it. And that's time travel. We know they were considering time travel in the writer's room because of a few quotes, again, from Lorenzo da Bonaventura. They were talking about the Ancient Rome spin-off, and they mentioned that time travel is something they might consider. I'm not saying they could have considered for The Last Knight, but keep that in mind because I will be bringing that point up a lot later on in future videos about Transformers 6. It's possible sometime after The Last Knight, or probably at the end of Transformers 6. Since Quintessa is a human now, maybe she goes back in time and then she assists the creators in the past or something like that. Or she tries to kill Unicron in some way. This would explain her being an alien, because you would have her literal alien self, which for argument's sake we'll say was created by Primus. You would have essentially two Quintessas existing at the same time, the human and the alien. And maybe the human assisted the creators in creating the Transformers. I don't really know, but the more I think of it, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because what would the real Quintessa be doing at that time? And I honestly don't have a lot of the answers for that, because again, all I've written here and all I've just mentioned are the facts we know. And maybe I'll figure out some of these details when I talk about the actual plot of the movie and how The Last Knight flows into Transformers 6 in the next video. But as of right now, recording this video, I can't really piece together fully how that two Quintessas idea would work. Unless something happened at the end of The Last Knight. And again, this is all going off the idea that she was a prime of some sort first, and not that maybe she was created by the Quintessons instead, and that's why she's called Quintessa. Who really knows? The fact that the 13 primes are a thing in part of the Transformers cinematic universe does imply she actually is a prime. Therefore, she's not an alien like we believed after Age of Extinction. She is therefore an actual being, a deity that was created by Primus to build the Transformers. But the issue here is the movies never mention Primus. We get a mention of Cybertron and we get Unicron, but no mention of Quintessa. I don't know what to think of that, and that's why I don't believe Quintessa was originally human, because of Unicron. If Unicron is Earth, why would Quintessa want to blow up her own planet? The prophecy mentions she wants to end our planet, which is Earth, to rebuild her own, which implies Cybertron. So she has to be from Cybertron, or of Cybertronian origin or descent of some sort. So she was created out of Cybertron in some way, whatever that means. I'm going to move on from all of that because I'm getting very sidetracked here and I'm repeating myself. The last point to go over is her relationship with Unicron. This is a very tricky thing to figure out, and I don't think I have any of the answers for this. If she was created as one of the 13 primes, or as they seem to imply were being a part of the cinematic universe, then already her rivalry with Unicron would be established from the point of view that she would be created to fight against him. This makes more sense than her being human, because if she was human first and then got turned into an alien, Unicron wouldn't have done anything to her, so she would have no reason to hate Unicron. But we also have to take into the fact that is she actually trying to kill Unicron? Because throughout the movie, she doesn't actually say she wants to kill Unicron. Now you might be wondering, hang on a minute, yes she does. Actually, no she doesn't, if we look at her lines. The place you call Earth had another name, Unicron. With my staff we shall drain the very life of Unicron. Earth will die, and your world will be reborn. She's not saying Unicron will die, she's saying Earth will die. We'll drain the life of Unicron. Yes, it implies killing him, but it doesn't mean they're going to kill him. And then later on, she mentions to the humans at the end, I can show you how to kill Unicron. But that's just her manipulating them. It's not saying she wants to kill Unicron. She never explicitly says herself that she wants to kill him. Nitro Zeus mentions about killing Unicron, but Quintessa herself doesn't mention about killing Unicron. This could be important. Maybe that whole thing about the last night was that she was trying to transfer Unicron's life into Cybertron and destroy Earth that way, and Unicron would have a new body, so to speak, which is possible. But if she's of Cybertronian descent, why would she want to do this? She clearly wants to resurrect the Cybertronian race or the world and be viewed as the savior of the race, a bit like Megatron. So from that regard, maybe her relationship against Unicron would be the fact that Unicron is the only thing that threatens her power. She wants to be viewed, as I said, as this high and mighty savior, and well, if Unicron's alive, there's always the threat he wakes up and destroys Cybertron, and she would be powerless to stop him. But then again, if she was a Prime, why the hatred? The Primes, we don't have reason to believe that they'd actually despise Unicron. They'd just fight against him. There's nothing to say that it's different. It's not like, say, Optimus and Megatron, where they're rivals, but Optimus doesn't actually really hate Megatron. He's just trying to stop him. Quintessa seems to literally hate Unicron and go out of her way to kill him, literally moving Cybertron all across the galaxy just so she could make Unicron awaken enough so he could be killed. Again, I don't really know. There's also the points that maybe she was a Prime and she betrayed the others and sided with Unicron. Possible, because to bring up the Onyx Prime image again, Onyx Prime was banished and sent to Earth, so maybe Quintessa is actually Onyx Prime and she was sent to Earth, and maybe she took a human form in order to survive, and then maybe years later she left Earth and wanted to destroy Unicron or something like that. But the issue with that is, if she's working with him, why is she trying to kill him? It's very complicated and I really can't figure it out. I don't have an answer for this particular question about what her relationship is with him, other than we know she wants to restore Cybertron in some regard, whether that's by bringing Unicron to life or by actually killing Unicron. It's a bit ambiguous. It's a lot more ambiguous than it should be, and forgive me if I don't solve it now, but it might be something I can figure out and come back to in a later video. For now though, these are just the points I wanted to go over in this video. I didn't cover her creating Optimus or her creating Knights, because I'll address that later on. Part 2 will be solely about Optimus Prime and his origins, because I believe that's something I really need to get in depth. So now that we've solved Quintessa for the most part, we're going to try and solve Optimus Prime's story, and then we can move on to the actual plot, because I think we need to have an understanding of some of the key characters in this before figuring out the plot, because once we can figure out the general gist of their origins and their relationships, we can then figure out how the plot is going and in what way these characters are intertwining. But for now, that's going to be part 1 of my exploring Transformers 6. I hope this was insightful, and I hope you learned a bit from this, and I hope this was enjoyable and goes away to giving you some answers. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below about all of this. Do you have any theories of your own? Is there anything I said you don't understand or would like me to clarify? Or maybe is there something I completely missed that you feel I should bring up? Please do. I want to hear it all. Lastly, this video is for the entire Transformers community, so I really hope you all enjoy it, and I hope you stick around for part 2. With that all said, this video is long enough. I'm not going to drag it out. So thank you all for watching, and please subscribe. Novus Corres out.